Good morning, Tallahassee. It's time to wake up Warchant on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi and Corey Clark.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aslan. He's Corey Clark. It's Wake Up Warchant, brought to you by For the Table Hospitality. And there are three great locations over in the College Town District, Madison Social, Township, and Central. Go ahead, check them on out. Maybe I'll go to one of them. I'm back in town. Feels good to be back. Corey, you're here too. You've been here. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. We missed you. We missed you in the 850. You were gallivanting all over the state, talking to high school kids.
Traversing this great state of ours. This great state of mine. I'm born and raised in Florida.
I know you're Floridian.
I don't know anything about this freaking place anymore. It's crazy. I've always had this sort of, stepchild syndrome that we have in Tampa from Miami. Like, Miami's bigger, glitzier, and everything. There's a lot of parts of Miami that it's lousy, man. A lot of those suburbs, no offense, everybody.
Almost all of it.
They're part of Newport Richey, which is north of Clearwater, and is just where all the transient population in Michigan and Ohio come down, get rid of their boring, mundane Midwestern lives with no plan in place. I'm going to move to Florida. Everything's going to work out. I'm going to live by the water. It's going to be awesome. Then they find out there's no high-paying jobs in the Tampa Bay area, and it costs a fortune to live on the water, so they move to Newport Richey, and then they do stupid stuff that gets in on TMZ and whatever else, like gossip, not got TMZ, but all the stupid stuff you see. Florida man walks in a grocery store naked and makes love to pork shoulder tenderloin in aisle 7. Usually those guys are from Michigan.
Oh,
Ohio,
I think so. They're transplants.
Indiana. Yeah, you guys come down here and sully my good state's name.
All right. Well, there's a lot of weirdos in Florida just on their own. We don't need any other ones coming from all over the state, all over the country.
Yeah, and hey, I don't want to get political. I'm going to get political here. Dude, there is a gigantic, obnoxious Confederate flag that flies on the junction of freaking I-75 and I-4, and it ruined my entire day. I didn't even know it was there.
I think I've seen that. I think I remember seeing that, like a 50 feet wide, high. Yeah,
it actually was the largest Confederate flag, but I guess it got wind torn, so they had to put a new one up that wasn't as big. But anyhow, I don't know. I want to start a GoFundMe and get like a troll flag right next to it that said something like, Sherman's your daddy or something.
Hey, come on now.
Sorry.
Sherman burned my city to the ground. You didn't have to do that.
Is Atlanta? Do you really, really love Atlanta? I was listening to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Atlanta's your city, right? I mean,
yeah, because what I like about Atlanta is that it's a big city, obviously, but it does have some Southern charm, and certainly we won't get political, but we were on obviously the wrong side of the Civil War. I'm not proud of the people that I don't know if I had ancestors. I don't think I had ancestors.
See, I didn't. I don't have any white guilt.
So I don't think I had ancestors that fought in the Civil War, but we're not proud of that part of our heritage. And it's kind of gross, and I was raised, not kind of, it's gross, and I was raised to believe that it was gross. But still, there's a lot of really good things about, Southern charm, Southern hospitality. Yeah, There's good. And Atlanta has a thriving African-American community, for real. It does.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's it's one of the few cities, I believe, that if you go to an Atlanta sporting event, Atlanta Falcons game, for instance, it's probably 50%, 50%, and everybody gets along. Yeah. You know what? The only colors we care about are red and black in Atlanta. That's all I'm saying. So I really do. There's a lot of really cool things about Atlanta. Some stuff that makes you cringe from our past, our not too distant past. But overall, yeah, I really am proud of Atlanta. And I'm just proud to be from there. We get seasons, but it's not too cold. But we do get a couple snow days a year up there, so it works. It's perfect. It's not too hot.
All right, I guess I heard you guys talking about it on Seminole Headlines.
Oh, yeah.
I went ahead and downloaded it. Okay, so get this. So I downloaded it on the way up here. Also grabbed my guy, Ryan Russillo. Check out his podcast, Ryan Russillo Podcast. Support him.
Right.
He's one of the few guys still out there fighting the good fight for all of us. So I'm like,
you seem like a Russillo guy.
Love Russillo.
Yeah.
Love Russillo. He's
from the same cloth.
He's a dude.
Yeah.
I wish he was my older brother. I love my older brother, but I wish Russillo was my older brother instead. But so what worked out was we were actually supposed to be in Orlando right now, you and I. This show is being recorded on Thursday evening. Sorry, everybody. There were some sort of late change plans. I don't want to get into it because it'll get people at home upset because it's a media guy complaining about media access and nobody cares about media people. And I get it. You should love your school and your head coach more than you love some guy who lugs around 70 pounds of electronic equipment.
You probably weren't that upset because you were down in that area of the woods anyway. But I was actually very excited to get that text on Thursday morning saying, "Hey, by the way, you don't have to go to Orlando anymore."
Yeah. Well,
because it's a long way to travel. Certainly, I like rubbing elbows with all the Florida State fans, and
somebody tweeted at us and said they were looking forward to meeting us. Corey.
Yeah, sorry about that, fellas. But yeah, the reason we were going down there was kind of the day of kind of kiboshed. So there was really no reason to go. So we didn't.
Yeah. So I'm with Michael Langston. We traversed this great state of ours.
Did you guys listen to headlines together?
No, we did not. Crazy enough, we drove from Tallahassee to Miami to Fort Lauderdale, back to Miami, over to Bradenton. We went everywhere. At no point did we turn the radio up. It was either dead silence, Siri or whoever is my Google assistant giving us directions, or us talking about your column. That started us off the entire trip pretty much down. Once we got to Jacksonville, from that point to Miami, we just talked about you hadn't even penned the column yet, but I mentioned that here on this show, Wake Up Warchant, you were talking about you were in cahoots with the guy over Larry Williams at Clemson, talking about how Clemson had their attrition,
right,
and how it stacked up, and he wanted some background information. You went ahead and dove headfirst into doing this whole I don't know if was that kind of you just stumbled into a good story. You're like, well, shoot,
I thought
2015 was trash.
It was I was just floored. Yeah, for the people that don't know, I guess I mentioned it a couple days ago, but a guy for the rival side in Clemson, Larry Williams, just DM'd me asking me if I could take a quick glance at the 14, 15, and 16 classes and look at the attrition that Florida State had suffered, not through guys that went early, but just guys that were no longer on the roster for either getting kicked out of school or medically DQ'd or transferring, whatever. And I think the 2014 class had 4 guys leave like that under those circumstances, but the 2015 class had like 9 of 20, plus the three guys that left early to go pro. So you're looking at a class now that has, that brought in 20 people or 21 people. 13 of them are already gone. This was just 3 years ago. Yeah. 13 of them are already gone. The only one out of the 21, the only one that you could say lived up to the billing is a guy in Derwin James that missed a whole year because of an injury. Yeah. That's when you talk about where programs go wrong, where they can veer off they get derailed. It's not like Florida State crashed into a mountain. But if you want, a microcosm, something to put under the magnifying glass to maybe look at what happened to Florida State, that class to me is the perfect place to start. I mean, it was the number 2 or number 3 class in the country.
3.
You had, maybe one guy out of 21 that lived up to their billing. Maybe one. Patrick's a nice player. I wouldn't say he's a 5-star running back. He hadn't played like that. He's a good college football player. McFadden, nope. George Campbell, nope. Josh Sweat, nope. Those are your 5 stars.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Marcus Lewis transferred. Ethan Frith, whoever that was.
Hey man, he's from Mississippi. He's from North Pike High School, man. Represent, show some respect.
Okay, well he could have gone to Southern Miss.
Yeah, could have.
It was a bad class that was ranked really highly, and for whatever reason, whether they were developed well, whether they weren't developed, or they weren't evaluated properly. To me, that's a really good. And I wrote it in the column, it's like a line of demarcation from the classes that Jimbo had been getting that were full of NFL players to that class, full of guys who thought they were NFL players but never really played like NFL players.
Yeah. So I went name by name in the car ride with Michael, and then Michael would be like, well, what 12 look like? And then I pulled up 12. And then I would just go, I'd be like, trash, stud, good player, stud, trash. And then we got to 2015, and it was just trash.
Yeah.
A lot of it. So, but check out the column if you haven't already over on warchant.com. So I download the podcast. All right. So I download some of the headlines. And again, I try to stay away from headlines just because I know I will naturally listen to it and then probably steal the thoughts of Jeff Cameron 3 to 6 p.m. every weekday right here on ESPN 979 Tallahassee. And I just don't want to do that. So I figured if I just stay away from it, it's the best thing.
I got you. I typically don't read other people's columns.
Really?
For real, I don't, because I'm scared that it'll just there'll be
it'll permeate.
Yeah.
And then but if I say, great minds think alike and I steal something from Jeff and someone's like, well, you said that first. I'm like, well, now you all know I don't really listen to headlines. Right. So just take my word on it. Anyhow, so the crazy thing is, so I download both podcasts of Ryan Russell. Then I download hour number 1, brought to you by Spirit, and then hour number 2, brought to you by Heather Birch Orthodontics. For some reason, I download off hipcast.com. That's the website that I use.
Okay.
I have a Google phone, so I don't have.
You have a flip phone.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And so I download off this website, Hipcast, and hour number 1 literally was 5 years old. It, for some reason, was the podcast that you guys did, first hour, the first show you guys did after the NFL draft. And
From
it was like
5 years ago?
First off, I like the intro so much better from back in the day than the one now. It had like that kind of cool, cheery. It sounded almost like the theme song from Coach, with Hayden Fox and the
now
Minnesota
it's
Screaming
just
Eagles.
bare bones almost.
Yeah, it's just the music sounds like you're about to drop some sort of self-help seminar, or you're trying to recruit people for Scientology. And I don't like the new intro for headlines. I just don't like it.
And the thing about Scientology is I don't have to recruit anyone. They read the literature on their own, and they see what a great idea it is.
The facts speak for themselves.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
So at first I'm like, how old is this? Because it's talking about, you guys keep talking about at the Democrat, working at the Democrat. I'm like, how old is this?
So we were talking about like Xavier Rhodes?
No, it was the 2013 draft. So it was coming off the spring game after Jameis has his sort of coming out party, I guess.
Yeah, so Rhodes would have been one of the guys drafted. Chris
No,
Thompson.
I thought he left in the. Oh, you're right.
2012.
Yeah, like Bjorn
year.
Warner.
Yeah.
Chris Thompson.
Brandon Jenkins.
Yeah.
People like that.
Yeah. So these
Nick Moody.
Yeah, and it's just so funny because there's so
That's
many.
crazy. You downloaded one from 5 years ago. That's cool. I should go do that.
I don't know what happened, but
Listen how dumb we were.
You guys also sound like it was 3 dudes doing it on the sofa in the rec room of a dormitory, like at Sally Hall or something.
We probably were.
I'm saying you guys have really. It's crazy how much like.
Well, the equipment's gotten better and the studio's gotten better.
All right, yeah, no, it sounds fantastic these days. Not that it sounded bad, but it's like, oh wow, you compare it. So it was so funny to listen to all these takes you guys were, because the whole thing you're talking about, Clint Trickett had just announced he was transferring, and I was like, why is he transferring? He could stay and maybe beat and we'll just maybe he can't beat out James, because you guys were all sold on him after the spring game. You all were. It was like unanimous consensus.
I got to beat Jameis that spring. Like we all took our own
right.
QB personas, and I got to beat Jameis, so I chose wisely.
But you guys are talking about Jake Coker, and you said you're like, why would he want to leave? What are you going to do? Go to Alabama and hand the ball off 35 times a game? That's not fun.
Boom. It was.
But most of everything, Ira's opinions aged the best out of all that. And the reason I asked you about the Atlanta thing was because I guess one of the headliner questions that time was, or was it this past show that it was asked what city would you want to be drafted by? That was this show. That was the show.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Have we been doing headliner questions that long? We might have been.
So what Jeff was going on about how much he liked Devontae Freeman. So you guys were about to get into a really good radio segment, but you guys always get in yourselves way, and then you say something silly, or so does Jeff, and then you guys totally detour off football and start talking about, drinking beer with, some guy
Aslan,
on the
we're
dirt
not
road.
going to sit here and criticize Seminole headlines. That's not going to
The
fly.
best podcast
with
world.
me nor the listeners. That's the Seminole podcast.
So Jeff is going on about, you guys are, again, going to this really good segment about sizing up next season, 2013. Which turns out to be the best season in probably Florida State football history. And Bjorn Warner's gone. Well, we're not going to be any better there. What do we think about...
Which was true. They weren't better at defensive end.
Yeah, I guess they didn't get the kind of production.
Dan Hicks.
Yeah, those are the sack numbers.
Christian Jones. Yeah, they weren't better there.
And so you guys are kind of going position by position. Well, you didn't. You maybe got to 2 or 3 of them before it got totally detoured. But you were talking about running back because Lonnie Pryor left, Chris Thompson left,
right?
And I was like, well, that's gonna be tough to see if they're gonna be any better there. And Jeff goes, I don't know. I kind of like Devontae Freeman. I think Devontae Freeman's a really good Division I running back at the major Power 5 level. Are we not in agreement on that? And then I think Ira was like, he's not elite by any stretch, but he's good. He's all right.
Oh, really?
It's like Devontae Freeman.
Idiot. What an idiot. I feel like right after that, I'm like, look, guys, I don't know what you see, but I think that guy's going to be an all-pro in the NFL. Like, he's going to be incredible.
You might have teased it for hour number 2, but you didn't get to that. But yeah, it was crazy just to hear the level of sarcasm, obviously from you, that has just aged so well. What it made me think of, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, was just, at what point can we just appreciate that maybe everything worked out perfect in the end? Despite 2015 recruiting class being the beginning of the end and all this, because going into that offseason, there wasn't a lot of optimism about Jimbo, right? It was like, maybe this guy's just not going to get it done. And I was of that belief, right? My heart kept getting broken. My heart got broken in the Oklahoma game.
2012 was I know they went 12-2, but that, I feel like most Florida State fans it felt like a disappointment.
Oh, for sure.
Even though, it was 12-2, they hadn't won 12 games in a long time, and Jimbo reminded everyone of that.
Yeah.
But the 2 losses were just horrific in nature. And then some of the wins were ugly, and none of the wins were only one good win, Clemson. All the other were over just okay teams or bad teams. And I just feel like Florida State fans thought, man, I hope this isn't the ceiling. We just lost the quarterback that had been groomed to take us to the promised land. I hope this wasn't the ceiling.
Well, it was great because your sarcasm. So you guys didn't make it a quarterback, and it was. So do we all, Jeff's? Do we all agree that Jameis Winston's going to be better than EJ Manuel? And you're all like, everyone's like, yeah, and you're like, well, how could he be any worse? I mean, just
because obviously I was making fun of the people who thought he was the worst quarterback in history.
Right.
So.
But I mean, it was great, and I almost wanted to start writing all the stuff down that did not age all that well. But I'm like, I don't want to,
Well, you write up what about the stuff that did age well? Remember, I'm the one that got on the Jameis train before anyone, because Jeff thought it was Coker going to win it and was going to win the job.
Ira was definitely Trickett.
Ira thought it was Trickett, and I'm like, man, Jameis is, and I only because Jimbo had told me. He told many people. But I remember, actually, I don't know if I've ever told this story before. I might have told it 6 times. I do so many radio shows now, it's hard to keep track of all the things I say. So after a press conference, maybe, I would say it was a bowl press conference before the Northern Illinois game. Uh-huh. He got all he used to do the weekly thing in the museum, the weekly press conference in the museum, and then it was over. If we had a couple other questions we want to ask off camera, we'd go up to him, and it ended up being like 8 of us stand around and talk to him. And then he quizzed us. This was it was that spring. It was the spring of 2013, first week. He goes, which one of you guys think, all you guys, who do you think is going to be the highest pick out of all the guys on the roster? What guy on the roster right now, spring of 2013, do you think will be the highest pick? And literally, this is why it was so funny. Not funny, but it was just the way it was handled when Jameis had his incident and he was treated like this god quarterback that everybody knew was going to be this Heisman superstar. He was the 4th-string quarterback when the thing happened in December of 2012. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a few months later, before any of that comes out. We all say P.J. Williams, Timmy Jernigan, right, Cameron Irving. There were all these answers. It took like the 7th person. It was Gene Williams that said Jameis Winston, and that's when Jimbo's eyes lit up and smiled and said, yeah, he could be the number 1 pick in the draft. This was just shooting the breeze with 7 or 8 reporters before he'd ever taken a snap, and he'd only been in spring practice for a week. I just thought that was a neat. I just remembered that we had that. It was 5 years ago now that he said it. But none of the people that covered Florida State for a living, he wasn't even really a thought in our eyes that he was going to be a great quarterback because he was still just a freshman. But he turned out to be okay.
He did,
and Jimbo kind of knew it. Jimbo saw it.
That was an okay segment. Let's do a great one right after this. It's Wake Up Warchant, ESPN 979 Tallahassee.
The Sod Cemetery, Osceola and Renegade, and of course, the War Chant. These are great traditions known to all Seminole fans. If you are a card-carrying, garnet and gold-wearing Nole, don't you deserve a site that is truly dedicated to covering FSU sports? Warchant.com's staff has over 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. Warchant.com is the only FSU outlet with a full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee. Plus, it's the only site with a full-time videographer and a daily podcast, 100% dedicated to FSU sports. Why act like Gators and settle for second best? Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome on back. You heard it. It's Wake Up Warchant here on ESPN 979 Tallahassee. I'm Aslan Hajavandi, Director of Digital Media for Warchant.com. And he's Corey Clark, the senior writer and columnist for Warchant.com. Also looking like Vin Diesel's stunt double today out of Fast and Furious. So you got this pearly white, shiny Dodge Charger, and you got your black T-shirt on, your shiny damn head.
Yeah, you didn't see my shades, though.
Like, I'm pulling up. Shades. I'm like, where's Corey? Corey's all like, are you going to be here on time? I'm like, I'll be there. I'm like, where? I don't see the Mazda. I don't see the.
Well, again, the Mazda is in the parking garage of the Hyatt Regency.
Still?
Yes, but they got the key mailed to them. Lady, I don't know if you heard that part of headlines.
I didn't know because it was the first hour, and the first hour was 5 years old.
Lady in Jacksonville found my key in her car when she was cleaning out her car on Monday. So she called the Regency. I assume it still had the ticket on it. Like, that must have been how she knew it was from the Regency and not just a friend or something. Yeah. But it had, I assume, fallen out of the valet's pocket into her car. So she just mailed it to them on Thursday, and they got it. She overnighted it on Tuesday. They got it. So they're going to drive it to my place up in Georgia, and I'm going to get there before I go to the Clemson game on Saturday. I'm going to swing by and pick it up. But until then, I have my this rental car that the hotel is paying for because they lost. When you think about it, so they got lucky that they didn't have to go make me a key fob because those things cost a couple $100 to make. Mm-hmm. Plus, they would have had to tow it out of a parking garage in downtown Atlanta to a dealership in Gwinnett County, which is an hour away. So they got really lucky that they only had to spend $350 on a rental car. Yeah. But I feel like going a week without my car should be the equivalent of what in hotel nights.
Yeah, shoot, double that. You should have like 30 days. You should have like some sort of punch ticket where you get 30 free days.
Well, that's
for all this. I mean
it's a hassle,
and it was honestly. I mean, and I hate to be that guy to be an apologist for a large mega corporation that's worth billions of dollars, which turns out to possibly maybe just be an honest mistake. I mean, ladies got leather seats, guys in the car, slips out of his pocket.
But it was forgetful, and it's not great that you would leave somebody's key in somebody else's car.
Yeah. But don't you, like you said, you have two jobs as a valet. Park the car, put the key on the hook.
He got 1 out of 2.
Did you not realize that you parked the Mazda, but you forgot to put the key on the hook?
I want to know, the machinations of how it happened. Like, how you wouldn't park a car, and then what did he do? Just hop in another car right away? Like, as soon as you park the car, don't you go down and put the thing on the hook? Or are you going back up?
Right.
So
same thing. You just park 3 cars, but you're only putting 2 keys on the hook, though.
Right. Yeah. And I know they probably park hundreds a day, but still, it was. So I think I'm going to ask. They're giving me 1 free night. That's what he offered me. But that's the guy offered me that when he thought I was just waiting on the locksmith to come make a replacement, and I had to wait a couple hours for the locksmith. He was going to give me 1 free night. That was before I've had to go a week without my car. So I feel like
send an email to corporate. I think you need to escalate this.
Well, Stephanie wants to talk to somebody at corporate. She thinks she could get us. She thinks she could get us a resort stay.
I would trust her. I would let her do that.
Yeah,
I would make her feel part of the process.
I did
here.
miss.
Yeah.
It was 3 hours. I didn't get to spend with my son
for
real.
That's a real serious thing, man.
So maybe I could get. I feel like
don't sell. They think you're some schlep with a Mazda that's going to be cool with one night at the Hyatt Regency in Atlanta. They don't realize you're Corey S. and Clark.
Right. They have no idea who they're dealing with. I got 20,000 Twitter followers.
Dude, let Steph go after it. Let her go after it, and have her be like, Corey Clark, and then put your handle at Corey_Clark, and then they'll see how many followers you have. They'll see that you're on ESPN Radio. Yeah, it's Tallahassee, but whatever. You can play it out.
Every day I'm on ESPN Radio.
Go for it, yeah. And you should get the kid fired. I know Jeff was trying to be all nice. Well,
it wasn't a kid,
right? He's just an older guy.
It was an older guy. It's a little worse. I don't know. I don't know if I want him to lose his job, but I want I just want to know how it happened, and I'm going to ask the guy, the director. I'm like, how in the world did it happen? That's all I want to know.
Oh,
it can't be something that happens a lot. They seemed stunned by it, so I assume it's the first time it's happened this year. Yeah. Maybe it's the first time it's ever happened at the Hyatt Regency. Sorry, I keep saying the name.
Yeah, it's okay. That's where I stayed for the SEC championship game. And
nice hotel.
Yeah, it was very nice.
As long as they get you your key.
They didn't put us there in the national title game, though. I thought for sure they're going to put us up there for the national title game. But the media, I don't even remember what the media hotel was for the national title game this past year. But it wasn't that. It wasn't the Hyatt Regency.
I wouldn't know. I was at a casino in Shreveport.
All right, so we don't have Renegade Express because we thought we were going to be in Orlando remotely doing a quick sort of 20-minute podcast. So I have my thought app where I put all my thoughts in, which is totally worthless. I meant to ask this prior in the week, but I never got around to it. So, they do the Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Corey Clark, Buford High School, Aslan Vandy.
Right, yeah, pitting us against each other.
East Lake High School. Or no, you call your alma mater
or
whatever.
I see what you're saying. I got what you're saying.
I did a bad job of that there. What high school did you go to, by the way?
Meadow Creek.
Meadow Creek represent?
Yep.
What are you guys known for?
It's
girls basketball or
nothing. But we just won a basketball championship for the first time in school history.
Heck yeah.
Last year, we won our first team championship ever in soccer. And then 8 or 9 months later, whatever it was, 10 months later, we won it in basketball too. But it got kind of it was just a normal Gwinnett County high school when I was there. And then for whatever reason, gerrymandering school districts, I don't know. a different kind of. The population changed significantly. Where to now, it's a rough school. It's like 90, just where it is in Gwinnett County. I think it's like 95% are on reduced lunch or free lunch. It's one of those schools, and people affectionately call it Ghetto Creek. But so when they do something great like win a state championship in boys basketball or win a state championship in soccer, that's really cool, and you get really, I get kind of a little bit of school pride.
Yeah, first elementary school I went to, then we moved up like the Jeffersons in the early 90s. But I remember looking at it when I was dating a girl who was like a teacher, and I remember looking at the grades. I'm like, that's a D-rated school. It was actually a good elementary school, but yeah, it was something like 67% of the kids are on free or reduced lunch.
Yeah.
I was like, well, dang. Anyhow, all right, so this is the question. Let's do some sports. Actually, screw it. It's my show, right? Somebody tweeted. I need to read this tweet. This guy was like, dude, do whatever you want to. It's your show.
Yeah,
I'm like,
reals.
Thanks, man. How about Brady Clark? All-Star. Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I was pretty fired up about it. So, if the people that don't know, I'll do it real quick. So last year he was in a 7 and 8 year old league where it was kid pitch only for the first time in the history of that league. Usually it's coach pitch half the time and then kid pitch the other half of the game. They decided to just do kid pitch the whole time. Good. Which could have been a nightmare. Should have been a nightmare because kids can't throw strikes at that age. Yeah. So anyway, the season's going along. He's having a great year, especially in relation to everybody else.
Don't be modest. He's raking, man.
Well, no, but I'll get to that in a second. So he's having, in my mind, a really good year. And I'm not like keeping up with his stats, but I'll be like, all right, well, he got 2 hits that game. Probably drove in 3. Seemed like kept coming up with the bases loaded and kept hitting the ball. And another good game. He had 3 more hits.
No big deal.
And then about at one point he had gotten like 12 hits in a row. And it's not just, hey, yeah, we get it. You put the ball in play, it's a hit when they're 8. But nobody else was putting the ball in play because it's either all walks or strikeouts. So about 8 or 9 games in, I'm talking to another coach about, hey, when does just out of curiosity, what's the All-Star schedule like? Because we need to know. I don't think Brady's going to be able to play because we got a lot of stuff planned. And the coach goes, oh, Brady wasn't nominated for All-Stars. I go, what do you mean? And he goes, yeah, no, the coaches have to turn in like the list of nominations for guys on their team that should be on the All-Star team, and he wasn't one of them. And I'm like, are you kidding? And that's when I went and got
started auditing it.
They keep the scorebooks for every game. So I went and took pictures of each game of the scorebook, and then went back and added up his stats. Yes. My man was 19 of 22 on the season in 11 games, and I'm telling you, in kid pitch, that's ridiculous. Like this year, a league up.
They're going to make a Christopher book about him,
where they throw more strikes. He's in a league up now, 9 and 10 year olds. He's got like 6 hits. Which is normal. That's a good season for this league. 19 hits is just ridiculous. The next closest kid on our team had 7. The 3 kids that had been nominated instead of Brady had 4, 3, and 2 hits. Brady had 19. He had more doubles than other teams had because I got stats from the other teams just to do it. So my point was that, and I emailed the coach, and I was really nice to him. I was just like, I don't understand how this happened. But I'm not that dad. I didn't want him to be on the All-Star team. He couldn't have played anyway. I just don't understand the process. I thought the process was flawed. And that's what I emailed to the coach, and that's what I emailed to the commissioner. So this year he made it. He had a nice season. He wasn't great, but he had a nice season. But I think he might have made it just so they don't have to get another 1,000-word screed from that writer idiot in Tallahassee who has all the Twitter followers. And he'll mention it on his radio show. But, yeah, Brady was really happy about it.
I brought it up. It wasn't your fault. Let's talk some sports. I'll ask Corey a question, and we can maybe pivot to it and save our dwindling viewership.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
All right, no funny business. Let's get right to it. It's Wake Up War Chant show brought to you by For the Table Hospitality. Back to my thing. So I was talking about before we got veered off into you're from Ghetto Creek and I went to whatever.
And right, Brady's big moment.
Yeah, that was I brought that up.
We're excited about. By the way, real quick, I do like his coach. I wanted to say this. His coach last year was a good coach, and Brady really enjoyed playing with him. And I was never nasty to him. I just didn't understand the machinations of how that kid probably set a league record in hits. Wasn't on the All-Star team.
This is going to be the worst question ever, and I feel terrible.
Let's hear it. I can't wait.
It was just I was thinking about the draft and everything. So do you type
these thoughts out? Or do you talk into your?
No, I type them out. Unless maybe if I'm at home by myself. Anyhow, you're trying to get me. I know what you're trying to do. Stop it. I'm going to go ahead and ask the question. But during the draft, I was thinking about this, and during Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, guys, Timmy Jernigan, Florida State football, whatever. Which player that left this past season, which one do you think is least likely, or actually most likely to not say Florida State when they're introduced?
I don't know. I think they'll maybe
McFadden. I was saying.
Well, I'm not expecting to see his name pop up on Monday Night Football. I don't expect him to be starting. In a Monday Night Football game. I was trying to think of people that would actually be starting on
Josh
Sunday
Sweat.
night.
You think Josh Sweat will claim Florida State?
Maybe. I definitely think Derwin would say Florida State for sure. I mean, that kid's been in love with the. But yeah, that's what he'd say.
And then everybody would be like, "Who's DBU?" Like, I'd rather you say Florida State.
DBU.
Just say
like
Florida
that.
State. Just say Florida State.
Yeah, maybe Sweat. Maybe Izzo. Where's Izzo from?
Sparta, New Jersey. Actually, that's McGuire's from Sparta, New Jersey. He's from Jersey, too, I'm pretty sure, though, Izzo.
That seems right.
Fact check time.
So I would guess, again, though, I don't expect Izzo to be, what's he going to replace Gronkowski?
Highland Lakes, New Jersey.
There you go. Good call, buddy. Jersey kid. He was a nice player. Yeah. Is he the best player they've ever had from New Jersey?
It's tough.
Myron Rolle is from New Jersey, right?
Yeah, the Hun School.
Maybe Myron. Myron started for 3 years for some bad teams.
And this is kind of an awkward...
Michael Ray Garvin, is he from New Jersey?
Yep, actually, yeah. Saddlebrook or Saddle Creek, one or the other. Upper Saddle something.
So yeah. I haven't named a
dude, look at you. I couldn't have named more.
Crazy,
than,
right?
I'd be like McGuire. That's all
crazy.
I can think
They've had
of.
4 kids in the last decade or so that come from New Jersey. And none of them were great. But none of them were terrible. They were all kind of okay. Yeah. Not bad.
Upper Saddle River. That's where Michael Ray Garvin is from.
Upper Saddle River. And Michael Ray Garvin was an All-American in track, too, so he did it on two different...
And he was about 6 inches away from derailing Florida from winning their second national title, but he stepped out of bounds.
I still think they would have lost that game. But it would have tied it up, and it was kind of inexplicable, but he ran out of bounds. I still thought Weatherford was just going to drive him right down the field.
I did, too.
You just split that lead.
See?
You split the field in half.
You and I are
we just got to go 50. Just throw it up to Greg Carr.
We're on the same wavelength, you and I.
They can't cover him.
We're on the same wavelength.
But it didn't quite work out that way.
So I always credited
I would
you.
say Izzo, I guess. If we're assuming all of those guys are on Sunday Night Football at some point in their life, I would say Izzo. Or maybe Noddy if he gives a shout out to his hometown or to his ancestry.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't think that Izzo's from anywhere cool. Like, he's not going to be like Pope John Paul VII Catholic High School. It's more than an amount. Florida State.
He might say the School of Hard Knocks.
He could do that. But speaking of Jersey, so when I was listening to the 5-year-old podcast, Seminole Headlines, I always thought that you came up with Smag. You actually called him Sean Mack. And then
I wouldn't have said
no,
Mack.
you said Mack. You said Mack, and then Ira's like, it's McGuire. There's no C in there. You're like, all right, well, Sean Mag, and then you said S-Mag, and then Jeff said Smag.
Oh, okay. So it was a group project. That was the episode.
Cameron said, "Yeah,
that's funny.
So
man.
much stuff happened in that episode right there. It's an all-time great.
That's awesome. That's really funny. So I said S-Mag, and then he just said Smag.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it started.
But there was no big aha, like, that was brilliant. It just kind of hung on. And I think later in the show,
well, I think the beauty of that show is that, well, number one, it's gone on for so long that I'm sure just a couple weeks later, just in referencing him, I just said Smag. Yeah. And that's how it was. And then from then on, we all just said Smag every time we talked about him.
Sweet Prince. So he's over at Texas A&M now with the sheriff. What's the sheriff thing all about? Did I miss something in the first hour of headlines?
That picture of him judging the calf roping contest or something, it looked like he had a sheriff's badge on his shirt.
He did.
Anyway, I'm sure the $75 million is awesome. So it's a good life he can have for himself with that kind of money.
Oh, some housekeeping. I can never say it right.
Housekeeping. You got it right.
The quarterback from NC State's still at NC State.
Finley, right?
Yeah, I erroneously said that he was gone to the
So
draft.
he's going to complete another 40 passes.
So we'll probably mark that game down as a loss.
He's going to complete 40 passes. They're all going to be 9 yards, but unless you can get pressure on him, he's going to complete a ton of passes. Yeah. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, he is. And I say that because I was listening to the Rosillo podcast, and he had Bruce Feldman and he had Mel Kiper on. They were talking about kind of what a dearth of talent there is actually going to be at the quarterback position in the 2019 draft.
Yeah, there's not a ton of kids that you look at and...
Yeah, so they're mentioning, he was one of the names they dropped and potentially being somewhat of a potential prospect for next year. But Rosillo was asking Feldman, because Bruce Feldman wrote the book, The Quarterback, and they were talking about Josh Rosen and how he played tennis growing up and how that kind of molded him into who he is. You should bring that up on Headlines with Cameron. That'll probably take like 5 minutes up. Talk to Jeff about playing tennis.
Tennis, yeah.
And he'll start talking about how that could have helped him be a quarterback, and then maybe he'll take, Clark and his other son, What is two
Bryce.
sons? Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce and
Take them
Clark.
out there and make them play tennis so they can become big-time quarterbacks. But he asked...
Which is funny, we almost named Brady Bryce.
Really?
So then we would have had a Bryce Clark. And then Jeff Cameron has Bryce and Clark. So
Yeah.
that would have been
Crazy. But he asked, Feldman, where would you, if you had an awesome son that played quarterback, like where would you send him? Like what school would you go to trust to groom him? And I was like, maybe they'll say Jimbo, and it then made me think of the podcast just because of like how quickly things can change, right? That offseason was filled with sarcasm, and this team is never going to really win anything big with this guy being here. And then sure enough, they go and they blow up. But at some point, everyone's talking about Jimbo. I mean, going probably into the 2015 season after he signs that recruiting class that everyone thought was fantastic, it was just, if you're going to be a top flight quarterback, you come to Florida State, you play for Jimbo Fisher, he's going to get you into the first round because he's done with the last three guys he's had. And he wasn't even thought about. They said David Shaw. I don't think they say David Cutcliffe, Stanford.
Well, I know, but who's their
I don't know. They're like, well, actually, the problem is, though, ever since Andrew Luck, they just haven't been able to develop anybody.
Yeah.
They were just saying that.
And that wasn't David Shaw that did Andrew Luck.
It was Harbaugh. And then Brussello asked him if you would ask, if I asked you this question 3 years ago, would you have said Harbaugh? And he's like, probably, but no longer. But I think what the Stanford thing is, he's going to get a really good education. He's going to play a pro-style offense, and he's going to have probably a pretty good offensive line in front of him that's going to keep him upright and let him kind of start zinging it all over the park.
I mean, if you want, I would, I wouldn't mind. I certainly wouldn't cross Jimbo off the list. It would be hard to see somebody scream at my son like that, and I'm being honest. It just would be. But I get it. He's a hard coach, and he gets results for the most part. The last half decade haven't been great for his for his quarterbacking resume. But does it really matter? I mean, there aren't guys that you're like, okay, that's a surefire. He's going to get you to the league. They come from everywhere. Baker Mayfield. He's from. Heck, Oklahoma's had 2 number 1 picks at quarterback in the last decade. So why not send them there?
Because it's
Landry
been different
Jones?
coaches. Because it's not. There's
but
no
that guy's
coach.
supposed to. No, exactly right. That's what that's kind of the point. Is like there's not one coach that just keeps producing.
Well,
great quarterbacks.
Jimbo's got 4. I mean, he's 4 first-round picks. He's full.
He had 4 in a
franchises.
row. Yeah, he had 4 in a row. One is sort of hit. Jameis ain't one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league right now, but he can get there, but he's not there yet.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up the program. We'll try to do some things sport-related. I know you guys want it, but it's the weekend coming up. Don't get too angry at us.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
All right, one final segment before the weekend. Hope it's a great one for everybody. Corey, you're going to spend it on the road in Clemson, right? So 11, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Which day does he get the record? 1,976 wins.
I'm going to say Wednesday.
Oh.
Maybe against Jacksonville or Tuesday, whenever they play Jacksonville at home.
You're that guy.
Clemson's good, and Florida State hasn't played well on the road. And, I would think they should win. They should at least win one of those.
They'll win Sunday. I want to say they're going to win on Sunday.
Well, that's the middle game.
Yeah.
CJ
Van Eyck.
Yeah. So, it'd be nice if they started playing well. It's just going to be odd to win it on the road, especially at a place, the one place besides Miami. I know Florida fans, I guess they don't like 11 either, but for whatever reason, the Clemson fans are always pretty darn nasty to Mike Martin.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay.
I don't know.
By the way, you guys talked about it on the headlines. I thought Jim Morris's answer to the Baseball America reporter was awesome.
That's great, man. That he knows
fantastic.
that offhand, what his record is against Mike Martin Jr.
Or
Mike Martin.
Get it twisted. I'm gonna get probably fired after this year, but I'm gonna
have a winning record against Mike Martin.
Yeah,
my former my former boss, and a few more national championships too. That people obviously know that. So it'll be weird if he does it there. I kind of hope he doesn't. But then that would kind of derail the season a little bit, number one, and also it would make me go up to Clemson 3 days for nothing. So I hope if he does it, it happens Saturday night and it's just a one and done thing, and then it's over with.
We'll all root for that then. Let's all root for Saturday.
Let's all root for Saturday night. Just take care of it. It'll be odd because it'll be on a rival's field, and if and when it does happen, I am curious to see the reaction of the Clemson fans.
Jameis owns Death Valley Memorial Stadium.
Still remember that
so
too.
Let Mike Martin own the baseball stadium.
Yeah, they still remember that too. So I doubt they're going to show that tribute video on the Clemson scoreboard if and when Florida State wins up there. Let me ask real quick. Guys, it's May.
Also, real quick, sports related. I saw Virginia Tech fire the defensive coordinator. I'm like, oh, Bud Foster's gone.
No,
it's like the co-defensive
coordinator in name only.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten to the point. If people don't know, you're listening to this on Friday. Last night, the Cavaliers took a 2-0 lead on the Raptors. It looks like LeBron's going to be in the conference finals again and probably will beat whoever comes out of that Boston.
I don't know, man. Sixers are pretty good.
I don't trust them to beat the Celtics. No. And so there's a chance he's going to go to the finals again for an 8th straight year. I think I'm to the point now with LeBron that I'll never say somebody was a better player than Michael Jordan because I just can't. It doesn't compute in my brain because I saw him through all his peak years. Yeah. I was old enough to see it. I was 11 when he scored his 63 against the Celtics in the playoffs, and then it just went from there. But I think you could make the argument now that nobody will ever have a better career than LeBron James. Doesn't mean he's the best player. I think he's probably the second best player that's ever lived. But when you stack up his career, it is incredible. It's incredible.
Watching him play is awesome.
It's insanity.
His size, just his athleticism,
and
he does.
He's not slowing down.
No.
I don't know if it's all natural. I assume it is. I assume they test for that. I hope they don't. I want that dude to play like that for another decade. He's 33. He's probably logged 150,000 minutes in the NBA
just
or whatever
carrying
it is.
bums, dragging bums
Who is on
up
that
the mountaintop.
team? It's crazy. And of course, even if they get to the finals, they're going to get rolled by whoever they play. And the people that you know who you are going to criticize LeBron for losing another finals when it is a minor miracle that team is even still alive. And now they're up 2-0, going back home. And that's a bad Cleveland team, man. That's got one player that's any good at all. And he's so good and so dominant. Let me say this: Michael Jordan wouldn't reach the conference finals with that group of players.
Probably not.
Now I don't know that LeBron would have won 6 in a row with Scottie Pippen and Bill Cartwright.
But he won 6.
Jordan, 6 out of 7. The one year he took off, and then the year he came back and lost in the Magic. So, but I don't know that he would have won 6 with that group. But I'm all on the same token. I don't think Michael Jordan is winning as many games with this awful Cleveland Cavaliers
just take
lineup.
It for what it is. The guy is amazing.
He's awesome.
He's probably the best athlete of our lifetime.
Yeah, I would say him the last 5 years or 8 years or 10 years, whatever it's been, and Taggart run are the two most ridiculous things we might ever see in our lifetimes in sports.
We just seriously talked about LeBron on
Ronald Acuna.
I hope Gene's not listening to this. We're probably going to get fired.
Come on, man.
The Braves looking pretty good.
The Braves are something, and they're right here on this radio station.
Let's talk about this for 1 minute before we go to break. Since you're going to be in South Carolina.
Before we go home.
Yeah. Before everyone goes home. Well, they're going to go on their lunch break. We're going to go home. Gene Sapikoff from the Charleston Post and Courier made an article ranking the top half of the ACC coaches. Football coaches.
Okay.
6, Bobby Petrino. 5, David Cutcliffe. 4, David Clawson. 3, Justin Fuente. 2, Mark Richt. Number 1, Dabo Sweeney. All 6 of those guys ahead of Willie Taggart, who he put at number 7. Fair, unfair?
Sure.
Where do you?
Fine right now. I would have. I'm not a huge Cutcliffe fan, but I understand what he's up against at that school.
Same with Dave Clawson.
And Clawson, I don't quite get.
Well, really? I mean, come on, they're pretty darn good now.
All right. Are they going to be good this year? Are they going to win another 6-7 games? Is that anything to be number 3 in the whole conference?
Well, if Florida State wins 9 games, a lot of people are going to be excited.
I think Willie Taggart turning South Florida into a 10-win team and turning Western Kentucky into a bowl team is more impressive than what Dave Clawson's done at Wake Forest. If we're just going on body of work.
I mean, Western Kentucky had a culture of winning.
No, not when he took over. They were on like a 28-game losing streak.
Jack Harbaugh won a national title there.
I know, and then the middle 5 years.
But they had won there at some point. They've never won at Wake Forest, have they?
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. USF at least had the one season where they were number 2 in the nation.
Wake got to the Orange Bowl, right, 1 year?
Yeah, well, that's true. Touche.
That wasn't Clawson.
You have to do it right now. He hasn't coached a single game in the ACC, and he's going to do fine.
Is he ranked at all?
Yes, he's 7th. These guys I named are ahead of him. Bobby Petrino's ahead of him. Bobby Petrino should be probably number 3. Why is Justin Fuente number 3? What's Justin Fuente done to be number 3? On the Coastal 1 year?
Well, I'd say, but that's fine. If we're going to judge on Taggart just that he has a losing record, I get it. You know, if you want to throw in those first 2 seasons at Western and South Florida and hold that against him, fine. But turning that team into a perennial 10-win team, apparently, and then what he did at Western Kentucky is pretty impressive. I would say that's. I don't know where Clawson came from though. I don't remember
one of
where
those
Clausen
MAC
came
schools.
from. So he probably won
Northern
there too.
Illinois, I think.
So that's fine, man. It's all one person's opinion. Like
He
old
might have been
D-Dodd.
he might have been the coach of Northern Illinois when they had that Jordan whatever guy that
No,
voted for
that
the
was
Heisman.
that was the guy that's in NC State.
It's Dorn. Yeah,
Doran,
sorry.
yeah.
All the White Daves and the Carolinas. You guys are all the same.
They all run together, don't
Yeah.
they?
That take, putting him at 7, probably won't age well. Hopefully, you and I will
You
age
better.
well over the
We
weekend.
hope it doesn't age well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. All right, that's it. We're done.
Guys, again, love yourselves, love each other, take care of each other. Have a great weekend. Don't drink and drive. Call an Uber or call Lyft. Get home safely. Be smart. Be brave. And I love you.
The excitement of the Willie Taggart era at Florida State is in full force. That's why now's the perfect time to sign up at warchant.com. Warchant.com will have wall-to-wall coverage of spring football practice, including the latest on position battles, coach and player interviews, video features, and in-depth analysis. Warchant.com's 3-team writers Gene Williams, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark have 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. And Warchant.com is the only FSU media outlet with a dedicated, full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee with the latest on the 2019 class. For your 30-day free trial subscription, head to warchant.com and use promo code WARCHANT30.